It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You have 15 tabs open on your browser. Your phone is buzzing with a Slack notification. You have an email draft half written, a Zoom meeting starting in 10 minutes, and a to-do list that is longer now than it was when you started this morning. You look busy. You feel busy. You are exhausted. But here is the uncomfortable question. Did you actually accomplish anything important today? Welcome to the paradox of the modern workplace. We are doing more than ever, yet we feel like we're falling further behind. We are drowning in tasks, but starving for meaning. In his defining book, Slow Productivity, computer scientist and author Cal Newport argues that we have been deceived. We have bought into a definition of productivity that is not only wrong, it is destructive. It's a definition that treats the human brain like a factory machine, ignoring the biological reality of how we actually create value. We are going to explore the 3 laws of slow productivity. This is not a guide on how to answer emails faster. It is a philosophy for reclaiming your time, your sanity, and your ability to produce work that actually matters. Let's begin. Part 1. The Trap of Pseudo-Productivity. To understand the solution, we first have to understand how we got into this mess. Newport calls our current state pseudo-productivity. Imagine a factory in the 1920s. Measuring productivity there was simple. If you stood at an assembly line attaching wheels to a Ford Model T, your manager could simply count the wheels. If you attached 50 wheels an hour, you were productive. If you attached 20, you weren't. It was visible, measurable, and clear. But then the economy shifted. We moved from the factory floor to the office, and eventually to the digital cloud. We became knowledge workers. We write code. We design strategies. We create content. We manage teams. How do you measure the productivity of a thought? How do you measure the value of a screenplay, or a marketing plan, or a line of code? You can't count them like car wheels. So, in the absence of a clear metric, the corporate world panicked. They needed a way to tell if people were working, and they settled on a terrible proxy: visible activity. We started believing that looking busy was the same as being productive. If you reply to an email within 2 minutes, you're a good worker. If you attend 6 meetings a day, you're a team player. If your green dot is active on Slack, you're working. This is the trap. We are furiously spinning our wheels, sending messages, organizing files, checking notifications, because we are terrified that if we stop, we will look lazy. But this frantic shallowness kills our ability to do deep, meaningful work. It's like trying to write a novel while riding a roller coaster. You are moving fast, but you aren't getting anywhere. Cal Newport proposes a radical alternative. It's a philosophy he calls slow productivity, and it is built on 3 pillars. Part 2. Principle number 1. Do fewer things. The first principle sounds obvious, but it is mathematically profound. Do fewer things. Most of us treat our to-do lists like a buffet. We pile our plates high, thinking that if we just eat faster, we can get through it all. But in knowledge work, this approach is fatal because of something called the overhead tax. Think of it this way. Every project you say yes to isn't just the work itself. It comes with baggage. It comes with emails about the project, meetings about the project, mental space devoted to remembering the project. If you have one major project, you might spend 10% of your time on admin and 90% on the work. You are efficient. But if you agree to 5 projects at once, you don't just have 5 times the work. The admin tax compounds. You are now spending your entire day switching contexts. You answer an email about Project A, then jump on a call for Project B, then try to fix an error in Project C. Your brain has to constantly reload the context for each task. By the end of the day, you have spent 8 hours busy, but 0 hours doing deep work. Newport suggests we need to stop viewing our work as a list and start viewing it as a stream. Imagine a narrow pipe. If you try to jam 10 huge rocks into the pipe at once, it clogs. nothing moves. This is your brain on multitasking. But if you put the rocks through one by one, they pass through smoothly. To apply this, you need to separate tasks from active work. Keep a master list of everything you need to do. That's your holding tank. But only allow yourself to have 2 or 3 active projects on your desk at any given moment. You are not allowed to touch a fourth project until you finish one of the active ones. By doing fewer things at once, you reduce the overhead tax. You regain your focus. And ironically, by slowing down the intake, you speed up the output. Part 3. Principle number 2. Work at a natural pace. The second principle asks us to look at biology. Work at a natural pace. For 200,000 years, human beings worked according to seasons. We were hunters and gatherers. When the herds were migrating, we hunted with intense energy. When the winter came, we rested and repaired our tools. Even in the agricultural age, there was a harvest season and a dormant season. Our biology is wired for bursts of intensity followed by periods of rest. Then came the Industrial Revolution. Factories don't have seasons. Machines don't get tired. They run at the same speed, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. When we built the modern office, we adopted the machine schedule. We expect ourselves to be at peak cognitive performance from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day, forever. It is unnatural, and it is why burnout is now an epidemic. Newport looks at history's greatest thinkers for a better model. Take Isaac Newton. When he wrote his masterpiece, The Principia, he worked with obsessive intensity. He barely ate, he barely slept. But after that burst, he spent years doing relatively little, managing the Royal Mint, taking long walks, letting his mind wander. Or look at Marie Curie or Georgia O'Keeffe. They did not grind, they oscillated. They had periods of super productivity and periods of deliberate slowness. Now you might be thinking, I have a boss. I can't just take the winter off like a 17th century physicist. That's true, but you can apply this at a smaller scale. Newport calls this seasonality. On the micro scale, don't schedule heavy meetings on Mondays. Keep one day a week sacred for deep thinking. On the macro scale, if you have a chaotic month where you launch a big product, intentionally schedule the next month to be quieter. Focus on administrative tasks, organization, and recovery. We need to stop apologizing for our natural rhythms. If you try to sprint a marathon, you will collapse at mile 10. But if you pace yourself, you can run forever. Slow doesn't mean lazy. Slow means sustainable. Part 4. Principle number 3. Obsess over quality. This leads us to the final and perhaps the most intimidating principle: obsess over quality. In the world of pseudo-productivity, we hide behind volume. We think, if I send 100 emails, I'm valuable. If I post 5 videos a week, I'm a creator. But Newport argues that volume is a trap. In the long run, nobody cares how fast you worked. They only care how good the result is. Consider the Beatles. In the early days, they played hundreds of gigs in Hamburg, churning out music. But as they matured, they slowed down. They stopped touring. They retreated into the studio. They spent months agonizing over single tracks on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Imagine if they had said, "We don't have time to experiment with these sounds. We need to release an album next week to keep our engagement numbers up." We wouldn't remember them today. This principle is even more critical in the age of artificial intelligence. AI can produce average work instantly. It can write an average email, write average code, and design an average logo in seconds. If your productivity is based on churning out average volume, you are obsolete. The only economic advantage left for humans is quality. True insight, creativity, craftsmanship, the kind of work that takes time. This is the trade-off Newport offers. If you agree to do fewer things, and if you give yourself the time to work at a natural pace, then the work you do produce must be excellent. You have to treat your work like a craft, not a chore. When you obsess over quality, you stop worrying about looking busy. The results speak for themselves. A single masterpiece is worth more than 1,000 mediocre drafts. Conclusion: the slow revolution. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a choice. We can continue running the rat race, checking boxes, replying to emails at midnight, and feeling that gnawing sense of anxiety that we aren't doing enough. Or we can choose slow productivity. We can choose to say no to the trivial many so we can focus on the vital few. We can choose to respect our energy levels, understanding that rest is not a waste of time, but a requirement for brilliance. And we can choose to take pride in our craft, knowing that in a distracted world, quality is the ultimate currency. The goal isn't to be the fastest person in the room. The goal is to be the one who creates something that lasts. Slow down, take a breath, and do your best work. And if you want to buy this book, link is in the description. Your purchase supports me through affiliate marketing at no extra cost.